Hi, this is Camilla Blossom, and I'm joined by Andrea Dombecki. And we're here because Gaia, Mother Earth, is speaking to us. And we wanted to share that communication, that connection, that energy with you, and also bring forward tools and ways that you can connect with her as well. So thank you for joining us. And welcome, Andrea.
Thank you, Camilla. Thanks for having me here. And I wanted to say Happy Mother's Day to everyone and to Mother Earth. And that's why we felt like this was a great day to do this. And so I'm excited to be here and most of all to bask in those beautiful energies and communication from Mother Earth and share that connection with others today.
Beautiful. So I thought we'd start with just a moment to tune in and allow ourselves to connect with her. And so just if you want to close your eyes or just connect with your heart and your divine self. And imagine you're anchoring yourself into the crystalline grid of beautiful Mother Earth, that you're connecting with her spirit, her heart, as a being, as a multidimensional being on all her different levels in her vibrant, precious, radiant self and all her rainbow grids, all her dragons and elementals and plants and trees, all the animals and crystals. We'll welcome nature and all that love you have for whatever places in nature, aspects of nature, the waters, the earth, the air, the sun. And we'll invite that mother energy of Gaia to be present with us, to comfort, to connect, and nurture us. So allowing her energy, that earth energy up through your feet, is a beautiful tool to receive healing for your physical body. And then we'll also connect with Divine Mother, Cosmic Mother, Universal Mother on this Mother's Day. And you're welcome to bring your own mother in. So allow yourself to receive that energy as we move through our discussion. And I notice when I have conversations with Andrea, we always have a lot of energy and healing, transmissions, alignments, attunements, all sorts of things coming through. So just be welcome or welcome. You're welcome to receive that and let that through. And um, and you will be blessed by that through Mother Earth. So I thought we'd just start off by maybe I'll have you start with something that's coming through, Andrea. I know we were talking about lots of different messages. Just to know we're both earth empaths. We work with the fairy realms. We're alchemists, visionaries, and been really attuning to like the grids and the earth and the shifts that are going on. And so um, I love that we're bringing this through together. So, what are some of the messages that you want to share to start with?
Yes, it's coming in as a wonderful opened conversation for people to get their energy going about, the earth is alive beneath me, it's caring for me, it's speaking to me. How do I communicate with it? And it's interesting when I think of my own story, I'm going to start with that a little bit about my communication with Gaia and how it's developed throughout the years and how I love to inspire that in others because it's brought me such great peace as a healer and as someone who might have a life purpose to work with the land, work with the earth, and even work with the collective consciousness shifts. So I was always a sensitive child, and my mother always took us out in nature. So I think I always had that naturally as a child, that give and take with nature. And so more as a grown up, when I was a channeler, I started just, channeling beings, channeling fairies, angels. But when I started to channel Earth, it was such an interesting, like powerful, familiar force. And I want to talk about how we communicate with Earth. Well, first of all, our nervous system communicates with Earth, right? So energetically, through our feet chakras, our hand chakras, we communicate with the Earth. And if animals have those chakras open all the time, so that's a great practice for us to energetically receive impulses. And sometimes those impulses can become information, but also listening, that it's a type of listening. And I always feel like that's romanticized, and I love it when people talk about how they laid on the earth, and the ancient people laid on the earth and they listened to the earth and heard the stories and the prophecies. And so the past, I want to say about 13 years since we've experienced great earth shifts, I would say about 2012, I found a great source of comfort by listening to the earth, because I noticed I would be extra sensitive. I would wake up in the night when there were earthquakes, or I would feel when something was happening somewhere. And so the more I was on top of that, and I make that regular time to listen, Earth would speak to me and it would tell me about the collective consciousness, but also how that's affecting my personal vibration, right? I'm ascending, or I'm moving into sovereignty, or our lifestyles or way of living is changing. So I just wanted to start with opening that energy of how do we communicate, right? We hear, we might have visions. I'm very visual, so I'll see Earth and I'll see like the sea creatures and the plants growing, and I'll get this barrage of all of the beautiful creations of nature, or maybe I'll go into Earth and I'll see that bombarded in my third eye, and it's very like invigorating. I'll also feel the communion of the exchange of energy or listen. So I just wanted to stress those kind of three ways of communicating. And if you want to add to that, because I just wanted to kind of open that energy up for everyone. And I think we know how to do it. The ancient people knew how to do it. That's why it feels so good right now to awaken that. So I'll pass it to you if you'd
Yeah,
like to add to that.
yeah, for sure. I love it. Because that's a big part of my work as well. And I think both being strong earth empaths, we've had that similar experience of, oh my God, what is going on in my body? It's like earthquakes over here, or solar flares, or Schumann resonance shifts. And so I think a lot of us, people probably watching this, have similar experiences of we are communicating and plugged into the earth so much, and then how do we become more aware of it? So I love, talking about that. I have noticed too that there's been a shift, and for us to all notice that, like in how we communicate, because along the way, I really would focus on that idea of the language of nature and like how we connect. And to me, it was always like making flower essence. It was always about feeling, like letting myself drop into how I was feeling and letting that connection come through that part of me. So I'm a very kinesthetic feeling person. And as I developed my intuition and my psychic abilities, there was much more of the visuals and more the channeling of the words. But I also noticed that I'm someone who kind of grew up with more of um, a natural sense of connection and merging with nature. So the communication was so one, like it wasn't even separate. And so that's something to think about too, that you might just be feeling things and having that through, empathic awareness, that it's just, oh, things feel very much this way. It's not something you really need to hear or see or even feel. It's just so much a part of who you are. And you may be part fairy, part she, part elemental. And so you naturally have that But I did want to say a really great to add a tool there that's come through quite a bit. We'll be sharing things that um, they keep talking about the earth and the elementals. And one is, and the grandmothers too, like imagine spirals on the bottom of your feet. And that can help you open the flow of energy in your body between the earth and your body. And one of the big messages, especially lately, that's coming in from the trees, the oak tree told me this the other day, Mother Earth keeps telling me, and that is about embodiment. Like we have to get in our bodies, we have to drop into our hearts, feel. Um, like if we have trauma or work around that, where it's hard to be in our bodies, to really do that, because that's how Mother Earth and nature accesses us, both for healing and for communication. So I think that's a key thing that she wanted to talk about today. Um, yeah, I might see if you have more to add to that one, because that just feels like a really important one, that embodiment. And I know a lot of us are, worked on our medicine a long time, or we're really opening to spiritual awakening and remembering our medicine. And so we're being asked to really embody that, embody our true essence. And that is like part of nature. So if you want to go from there, Andrea.
Totally. And it's sparking me thinking of how there's this holistic way to almost engage embodiment with our inner child, like gardening or like laying on the earth and touching things. And like, so it's not like, oh, get grounded and face reality. It's more this gentle call to like, oh, there's a beautiful flower. I want to go smell it, right? Or I want to touch the bark on this tree, or I want to build something, work with my hands, right? And this is like all of these core things that we need balanced as a multidimensional being. Because I think of the elements, right? How grounding being with the elements are, right? If we see wood and fire and the earth and the air, how, and the crystals, like even when you were mentioning all of those kingdoms in the beginning, I could feel my body being called back to the magic. And I think that is part of the consciousness shift now is that we have to consciously remind ourselves to go out in nature, speak to nature, because as a culture, it has not been stressed. And I feel like that, like as a child, I didn't have to remind myself, go out and play in the dirt and like go out and have fun. But I think like we need these conversations as adults because we need the checklist of like, did you get sunshine? Did you go put your feet on the earth? Because it's almost like we have to set the culture. We have to push the culture in the way that we want it to go, which is the honoring of nature, the respect of nature and the priority of nature. And I always talk about urban fairying in that way because I live in the suburb. And it's like, how do we do that? Well, we make gardens. We make sure there's nice parks. We keep the wooded areas healthy. We let the trees grow, to be big and old. Because I was noticing that how sometimes a plant or a tree will get to a certain age and then they'll cut it down and then put like one of those new ones and then the sod. And then I was like, I was really upset. I was watching this in the park, and I think the fairies want to tell this story for Mother Earth too. And I was kind of devastated because there's these beautiful lilac trees, and they left one that was like humongous. So I'm glad they left that one. But the fairies and Mother Earth came in and they just said, just keep planting, keep growing things, because I think we can get devastated by all this deforestation or lack of respect for nature, but they're just saying keep building, keep planting, keep making that a priority. Because some of that stuff we don't even have control over, like the wildfires, for example. I was thinking of that this morning too. Nature has a natural destructive force also, and then it keeps rebirthing itself. So I think that's a really great cycle to talk about today, that we can just keep
Um,
creating and planting. Yeah.
yeah, that word regeneration, regenerative really came in strong too recently. But it makes me think like lately, I've been really drawn to like baby trees, like I had been growing this baby ash tree in a pot and then just gave it to my friend, and we all blessed and we're playing with this little baby tree, and then she planted it. And then I was out with another friend and we were like really tuning into the baby oak tree and in the forest. And he brought one back to plant at his home because they had lost another tree. So I really think this feels like a time to nurture the new growth. Like we're in such a huge time of loss and grieving and grieving the old identities of who we've been, of who we thought we are, remembering more um, who we really are. And so I think really nurturing, yeah, that new growth. So like planting trees, I love that you said that because it's the other thing the trees have shared is that they love to have crystals in their roots when you plant them, like rose quartz or clear quartz crystals. So just another thing that the trees and Mother Earth love is when you do plant is put some crystals in. And I was down in the garden yesterday and planting seeds, squash and corn and spinach and such. So it really feels like those simple things lately, just spending time out in nature. It's almost like feeling that life force. Kind of, they talk about in forest bathing too, but just being outside, whatever you're doing, just sitting there, lying there, gardening, anything, feeling into that force and also paying attention to kind of who's calling you when you're out there, like what tree or what place, but also what parks are. Because I always listen to that. Like if I'm want to go out in nature and be in a certain place, like who's calling? Who wants to be with you today? Who has medicine for you today? Who wants to talk to you today? And then just tune in and let yourself intuitively guide it to the park or the location that really wants to connect. And I just want to say too, like I've been noticing in my mentor sessions that how I see the Mother Earth is really different lately sometimes. And we can all have a relationship with her where we have a different sense of how we connect with the earth and nature. It can be kind of more the oneness, and that spirit is massive and connect that way. It can also be seeing her represented as a mother. And so I've been noticing in my work, especially with grids and in the inner earth, is that when I've been working with people's land, that this Mother Earth as an like goddess or as a mother is kind of coming up from out of the earth to be there in with us and to bring a lot of the rainbows, bring a lot of rainbows into the grids, bring a lot of that energy. And she's very sweet and very loving and comforting. So you might notice, yeah, there's different ways that you're connecting or opening. And sometimes those are mirrors for us to for me to see myself more. Oh, I'm embodying the Mother Earth now. And that's why I'm seeing her that way. So, yeah.
Just as you were speaking, it was bringing up that, um, communication with me that she was watching us all the time as a loving parent. And I saw myself as like a little child playing on the earth and just could feel her spirit of, I love, like such an unconditional love. And the way she sees us as like magical, creative, joyous forces that are here to, share the songs of our hearts.
Mm. And to sing with her in harmony. That was the other message, to hear her song, her vibration, and for us to align with our own frequency, essence, vibration, so that we can come into that oneness and sing together. I'd love to also talk about, I know we've had a lot of conversations over the years, Andrea, about like 5D, the ascension, changes in the earth. And we were talking about like having like new eyes, a new perspective of how we see the earth. I know a lot of us are earthworkers. And so there's been kind of an emphasis on, oh my gosh, there's pollution, there's all these things wrong, there's all these things happening. And so I thought it might be interesting to discuss that somewhat about how the earth wants to be seen, how we can look at her in different ways. Um, yeah, like her multidimensionality, because I think we're kind of all opening to that within our own bodies, and then also being asked to really connect. It's almost like plugging in our nervous system to the nervous system or crystalline grid of the earth, or the crystalline grids plugging into each other in that oneness and allowing all of us and earth to be in a different paradigm, right? In the true or new earth.
Yeah, as you talk about that, I really feel like it's part of our personal evolution because I've gone to the extremes of that where I'd see everything as hopeless and damaged, and then I'd have to go into almost basic law of attraction. Are you focused that the earth is sovereign and that there's hope, just like you're sovereign and there's hope for your life? And it was this mirror back and forth because I realized at some point I was so stuck in the judgment that I had to get to the place of neutrality because I noticed so much of that judgment wasn't helping for the earth. And then I started to realize that the truth of who the earth is greater than I could ever imagine. And its ability to heal, regenerate, or even on the higher dimensions where it's already perfect, stepping into that. And so it's almost like as we move into this quantum, multidimensional way of being, we're throwing out all of these laws of science and everything. So that kind of was opening up, I think, in my consciousness and DNA the past few years about my perception of the earth and what's possible.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's interesting the shifts we're in that Mother Earth is in these new dimensions. And I kept getting this message too, and using these words of like creating new fields of energy, creating new fields of energy. And it's like some of us, and I know the two of us are more this way, like not like we don't care about, I mean, we want to work with the renewal and regeneration and all that for the earth. And there's a lot of the physicality of that, but there's also the kind of metaphysical, the energetic. And that's like the templates, restoring the templates, bringing that energetic foundations and structures of the new, of the higher frequencies. And I think we're both kind of in that realm of that's the really important for us to be focusing on those realms of energy that are the true earth, the remembering, the knowing, the beauty, the magic, the fairy realms, elemental, like all that magic that we're both really in is so important. And not to dismiss like the shadows and the hard things. And yeah, like for our own healing as well, but just to be able to, yeah, hold that vision, be visionaries, and and that's how we create. It's like those roles for a lot of us is, holding that vision, because when we do collectively, right, hold that vision for what we want, this paradise garden, that's how we create it. And so it's almost like this big mess that's going on, chaos going around. It's like, there's just not a lot of energy for me in that. Like something much more is being born and that we're part of, people that are like us and want to be more in a beautiful, connected, higher frequency earth.
Yeah, and as you were speaking, I could kind of see that the clouds lifting almost. And I kept hearing it's about unstoppable hope. I mean, you reach a point where it's like we're going to have hope and we're going to have vision because it feels good and we want to create. And that's like this new type of like unstoppable hope, vision, joy of leadership. I think of Fern Gully actually, that fairy tale movie where I think the whole jungle gets burned kind of, and then the fairy steps into her power. She steps into her power to start to be able to make things grow instantly. And so I think of that, how like we go through this cycle of like we're hopeless about the world or whatever, and then we step back into the unstoppable hope. It's like part of the process, right? We go through the cycle. Kitty's supporting that
Yeah,
now.
I could hear Kitty.
But
Yes, meow.
and I think it's great to have these open conversations because you realize like I don't want this mindset, and
Yeah,
I want, and maybe it's a mixture of all mindsets. Like you do some activism work or you preserve things, you do
yeah,
things, but then you also have the hope and the vision and the beauty. And that does go back to like law of attraction and manifest, 80% of that is in our mindset, in our vision, in our energy alignment. And then the rest is action. So it's kind of good to look at that, like how it's related to belief,
yeah,
what we feel, what we believe is possible, and that, imagination, that visionary of the earth. Because I mean, I'm just getting a lot of activations as you're talking about how like that seed is planted, and when we tap on that and we look at that seed, that beautiful rainbow possibility comes out, and there's so much life, like the trees in spring, there's so much leaves growing, like there's unlimited potential for beautiful positive things that feel good, that are involved
mhm.
with blessing all life affirming things which we feel on such a visceral level. And just a way, so I just feel that hope awakening. I just want to keep saying the word hope.
Yeah,
She's like kind
yeah,
of open.
yes. And trust, it requires an enormous amount of trust, I'm noticing. Um, yeah, and what you're sharing, it reminds me too of that kind of old style view of working with Gaia and the earth, especially in the environmental movement. Like Gaia is a victim of humanity in a sense. And also we are a victim um, of the circumstances of what has happened here. And so I've really been looking at that whole idea of victim because a lot of us healers and people working with the earth come from, have witch wounds, persecution wounds, intergenerational trauma things. So I think we're all like trying to transcend and move to that new place with earth where we're not victims of anything that's happened as a soul here, that the earth isn't. Um, that is a part of disempowerment, like to really be empowered, stepping into our role here as earthworkers, as empaths, is to rise into that new perspective that no, like we're in our power. There's no victimization here. There's no us and them. There's no someone who did this and someone to blame, but there's a new way to be. And I think we're all learning. It's not like, it's an easy shift. I think we're all doing very deep healing work. And just to add to that, I've been noticing, I've been doing um, a lot of healing work around my witch wounds. I have a huge number of lifetimes of persecution and a lot of work I've done with my ancestry, and all this relates to our relationship with the earth. And one of the things I'm noticing is the deep grief that I'm experiencing and the need for self-forgiveness. And so I think I want to just bring through, we are talking about like being in this really positive, beautiful relationship with the earth and seeing those higher potentials and those views and how we connect with nature. But it does require us to be fully human in that we grieve when we see clear cuts. We grieve because our ancestors lost their sacred trees. We have to forgive ourselves because we are going through a massive healing and change from the old ways that are part of the culture into what is emerging now. So I love that, back to that baby tree and that nurturing that new growth. Feels like we're right in this kind of complex and unknown mystery of opening. And so I think, and I'll have to say, like, the trees keep saying this, like, because I'm working with the tree mysteries this year with a group. It's like the trees keep saying, you're not going to really believe how we're going to communicate with you and what we can tell you and how we can work with you. So they keep saying that over and over, that there's going to be massive openings with our relationship with the earth, with nature, with the trees, with all of that. So yeah, so if there's want to speak on any of that or something else, Andrea?
Thank you. Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think a lot of this stuff is about life experience. It's like we go through the dark and the light, and then we gather information and we become neutral, and then we just follow this path of destiny. But a big thing that's been coming up is that everything's happening for us to awaken us. And as you were talking, I just keep feeling like I want to mention that the rising of the divine feminine energy, and how I've just been studying the positive and negative aspects of that, like the wounded feminine versus the healed feminine. And a lot of this feels related to Mother Earth also, right? Because the wounded feminine is a victim of everything, is crushed, is suffering. And the healed feminine is connected to the earth, the stars, the magic, the spirit guides, connected to the wholeness, and is part of that and knows that it's nourished by it all. And that seems like something I keep reminding myself because of the archetypes or the roles we were born into. And maybe, we're projecting that on Mother Earth, and Mother Earth is the ultimate healed or wounded feminine reflection. So it's like focusing on and rising that vibration of the healed feminine feels really good, and seeing that reflected in the world, um, as healthy, happy, nourished people, the earth included. And so I just wanted to talk about that because it does feel like
Wow.
a flip of the script almost to even the way we saw things our whole life.
Yeah, it's like that perspective, right? And
Yeah.
I think I always like to think of those kind of polarity pieces, like the wounded and the healthy feminine, uh, um, as like a rainbow spectrum, and that we have all of it, right? And the more we can accept all aspects in the rainbow, the more whole and heal we can um, experience life. So,
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing to think about, and that's that identity shifting again. Do we see ourselves as whole or wounded, as hopeless or hopeful? And I
yeah,
I did want to talk about I kept getting the message talk about the specific way places that I go in Earth, especially when I feel an ascension shift. And I know I talk about this with Camilla a lot. Like if I feel, oh, there's a solar flare, an Earth shift, it's happening, I'll feel it in my body. Comes up as a strange feeling, but I'm starting to understand what it is. Um, I usually go out on the earth, and then I imagine I'm going into the core of earth, and it feels like the brain or a control room, and then I get information and I get attunements. Sometimes I'll see the rainbow dragons, I'll get a DNA attunement. Sometimes I have to surrender to the shift because my body's tense and it's like resisting. And it could be like an earth shift, an earthquake somewhere. It could be a paradigm shift, which we have resistance to, because even if it's an unhealthy paradigm, from childhood, it kept us safe. And I think I want to talk about how Mother Earth, I feel, holds the human paradigms. And when she shifts, like I see the rainbow consciousness pulsing from the core, our paradigm shift, but we have to relax and surrender to that because I think she's almost shifting the paradigms. And so we have to like allow that to happen because those paradigms made us feel safe. So I just want to talk about that because it's been a major thing that's coming up. And I think the paradigm shift also has to do with our beliefs about her ability to heal and the state of the water and the soil and all those things. Those are all paradigms too. So it's like all related. And also the earth karma of the crust of the earth keeps showing and the things that happen there. Um, just what we believe that that can like shift quickly, that we, that that doesn't have to stay stuck, the old ways of society, all those things, because she knows, she feels that. And so it's all connected. I almost see this like energy flow of like the surface of the earth to the core, and then the stars and the solar beings too. And so it's all this cosmic dance of ascension. And so I think some of us are almost like a conductor of that energy and in between. And so
Yeah.
that's that earth empath thing. And it's great to just keep getting information on this and talking about it. Like it feels so healing
Yeah.
and having that open discussion because it feels like I'm like a conductor, like rainbows are coming from outer space, going to the earth. And then when you feel that ping, it's a time to go into ceremony with the grandmothers or with the dragons or the earth. That's been happening to me. If I really feel that, it's like, oh, I have to go into my circle or a public circle or you know, make my you know, prayer grids and things, or go to a vortex. And I think that's really important to mention. The vortexes or portals, places where nature's really online. And like you go there and you could feel like, whoa. I'll get called to those places to receive attunements because it's almost like going to the hot springs or the healing spots. Like, oh, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna like align my light body, you know.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, a lot of cool things were coming through just to tune in. And that whole thing with crust, I've had messages about it, like the surface world, right, that we're in. And so many times, like, I've been also directed, like when I need to journeys, like go into the earth, and that could be through an oak tree and Merlin and the Fairy Queen, and then into the fairy realm, or it can be down to the lower world. It can be into the crystalline energy, the caves. And what I've experienced too is like what you were talking about is that, yeah, the crust of the earth where we live, there's a lot going on with humanity and the shift of the grids and the laying of the new grids and the dissolving of the old. Um, but there's the massive energy coming from the sun and the cosmos and the universe. And then inside the earth, she is healed and whole and beautiful energy coming from below. So it's like we're sandwiched between the energies and letting those flow. And I've noticed that that's something for us in our body to be aware of, is to allow both the energy to flow from divine down through our crown and through our body into the earth and to the center, but also especially light worker types, like really allow the earth energy from the center of the earth to flow up and through our bodies and then all the way out to the universe. Because sometimes we focus a lot on bringing the spiritual energy in, but we need to also go the other direction. And it's just like what you're talking about, Andrea, like to bring all that energy into the crust for transformation, like up and back and through. Um, yeah. And also as far as like places on Earth, yeah, or there's sort of like the places we journey or do ceremony or call to that more spiritual work. And that can be like bodies of water um or like going in and doing journeys within. And so there's like looking for those medicine places. Like I feel we all have places we can go in our meditations, in our shamanic journeys where we can receive medicine, where we can sit with the grandmothers, where we can sit with the dragons and work on that more metaphysical plane or etheric plane. And then there's also that very physicality you kind of touched on both of those. Like I call it Earth Mother Vortex in my yard, and I can just go and sit there, and it's like a wash of healing earth energy that just takes, like a couple moments, and it replenishes my whole energy body just standing there or sitting there. And so I like to make altars there and tune in, but you can like look around or ask your spirit guides and the elementals to guide you to a place like that, a healing earth portal, and tune into that kind of wash of healing energy as a replenishment. And so those are a couple like more tools for places you can go and working. I guess the one other one to mention, because we're talking about the divine feminine and it's Mother's Day, is the womb energy, like the importance of um, if we are women or working with the feminine or working to reconnect or find our grounding or working through a hard thing or really want to create something, because our wombs are our creation center. And so many of the women's circles were broken, and so there's a lot of wounds around women connections too. But you can lay on the earth and ask your womb to be connected with the womb of Mother Earth, and just get the flow of that creation, that kundalini, the dragons, your own ascension dragon, like get that energy flowing. And that's super helpful, I find, for, yeah, if we want to create something new, if we want to just get our energy flowing, get more fire, passion, um, yeah, work with kind of that kind of energy.
And all this feels like just the most amazing ways of grounding and communicating with the earth and the energies of the earth and the wooded areas and the trees. And I think I want to mention that we've worked on this for years on our alone and together, because even talking to you, I have all these memories of times when you had a circle and then I connected with the mother tree of my land, and now it's my friend every day. So it's not like just it happens overnight. Like we've worked on this relationship through the constant seeking, you know, like I'm
Yeah.
gonna listen to nature today and or ground today, or having that reminding our mind that this is a priority, right? That earth is a living devic force, like all of nature. The trees, the
Yeah.
plants, they all have a spirit and a consciousness, and we can talk to each other, and whatever's around us is there for a reason, right? If like this tree's right outside our window or this flower bush is up the street, like having that engagement, it all feels like this, like continuation of Mother Earth's wisdom, which is a beautiful path to follow of listening. And I think that the inner child had that. I mean, it feels like the inner child energy where you play in your own energy, right? You just like, I'm gonna go touch this leaf and build this, and like we're engaging with the spirit and Mother Earth in that beautiful way. Um, it's coming up, and yeah, bringing our body online to Mother Earth connection, which is
Yeah.
interesting because I felt like I had almost like trauma from concrete. I feel like I work on this my whole life. Like I don't want to like open my feet chakras beyond the concrete. And I think it's because I like worked and went to school in Manhattan, and I love Manhattan. I love the city. But there's like 8 layers of concrete before the earth there. And so I think then when I moved to the forest, the old growth forest, it was like my body was like, there's no concrete in the way. And then I was seeing how that was an intention and a priority that humanity did, where it's like, oh, we'll build all this concrete, and they weren't making nature a priority. So it's like, but we're feeling that consciousness shift. And I see that in my life, like working in cities and then like living in wooded areas and forests, and like how I always need the balance. And so you can keep the balance. Like if I worked in the city, I would come home to like my wooded forest home and like be in nature all weekend. So it's like I would need that balance always, because I'd notice when I didn't get
Yeah.
enough of it.
Yeah. And to know that you can be in a city or suburb and have amazing magical nature experiences too, right? That your energy can move through the concrete, like we were talking about. We both go into the earth, into some of the caves, and then the um, the earth within inside her body. And so that's a place, like if you live in a city, you can go deeper away from the crust and deeper in to access some of those energies as well. Um, or use the trees for that. You know, the trees are such conduits and working with us to, um, yeah, co-create ways to connect, reconnect, find our, an oak tree was telling me that, like, find our, my true form. It was encouraging me to go on a path of more forgiveness, to find my true form. I thought that was interesting words, and that the trees and nature will be able to communicate with us more in our true form. And that means, like, yeah, doing our healing, letting ourselves grieve, feel forgiveness, work through what we're experiencing or have experienced in the past in order to claim and remember those beautiful gifts. So I'm just want to tune in and see if there's any more tools or messages or anything from Gaia or from any of the elementals before we complete. And then also to share what you're up to these days. But yeah, it feels very peaceful. It feels like the energy of the Divine Mother, of the grandmothers, the feminine aspect of the forest, of the emerald green ray, of our hearts and wombs. So I'm just kind of seeing that connection between our heart and womb as well, like filling our heart space with that beautiful emerald green ray of nature communication, and then into our womb. It's like we're nestled in the mossy, it's like your background is a great visual, like nestled in the mossy softness and comfort on this Mother's Day of Earth as our mother, as healing our inner mother. But yeah, taking some of that time in nature for that quiet stillness, um, being that the best way can be just being with nature. If you want to add anything that you're getting, Andrea.
Yeah, I just felt like I got some unexpected gifts, and mostly it was about the self-love and awareness that, like, it's almost like we're releasing all our masks, and Gaia's always was seeing us in all our forms and wants us to thrive and be happy and reach our potential. It was almost like the greatest mother energy ever that's like always watching you, unconditionally loving you, wants you to be happy. Like, I just keep getting that vision throughout today's call of myself at different ages on the earth, and then the watching, and then all the different ways you've looked and all the different sizes you were, as you grow up. And just that she's watching all the time and loves you, and you're held, and you're so important, and you're so special, and your purpose is important, and your contribution is important. So I'm just seeing myself through her eyes, how she values all of
Yeah,
us in this, like, almost like ascended way that we can't even imagine.
yeah, I love
and
that.
and she's all knowing. Like, I think that's the last message I want to share, is that she can give you answers, because that's what I'm getting. The message is like she's a wealth of knowledge. And so to ask questions and get information and help, almost like working with her, I feel like I've gotten that invitation today, to work with her a little deeper and take her more serious in that way. So that's exciting.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah. For me, it was like very much feeling that, in my body, like what we've been talking about, and really letting myself, letting all my cells, my heart receive that beautiful frequency, that essence of Mother Earth in all her dimensions, and matching up with all my dimensions. So there might be different experiences and different dimensions with her, because the fairy realm too talks about that, all different dimensions. So you might have like color journeys with her that are super healing, and other ones very physical, working in the garden, planting and weeding. And so, yeah, I just invite all of us to really feel that replenishment and nourishment. Kind of feel Corn Mother coming in. I was working with her in Oaxaca, and that beautiful, gentle, tender care that comes from the mother in all her forms, in all her ways, through spirit, energy, magic, reaches all aspects of our being. And whatever that is for you, it could be your own mother, your grandmother, divine mother, Mother God, cosmic mother, Mother Earth, the mother tree, godmothers, fairy godmothers, and the grandmothers. So may we all receive that blessing from the mothers, from the divine feminine. Let it in, let it in, let it in. You are love. And from this place, being open to hearing your own song, your own essence frequency, the song of Mother Earth, that frequency. And yeah, many blessings and prayers for your beautiful evolving relationship with Mother Earth, and how you would like to create that, co-create that with her, with her elementals, fairy realm, her trees, animals, waters, in whatever way. Blessed be. And thank you for joining us. And it's been super fun, Andrea, as always, Andrea and I have conversations all the time. And it just feels like they're always like activating catalysts, healing, transmissions, always like really magical, and bringing through a lot. So it's really fun to share that in public. But I'd love to have Andrea, and I will as well, if you want to share like what you have coming up. I know you have a unicorn thing coming up. I have a lot of energy with unicorns lately. Well, always, but lately too. So I'd love to hear anything you're offering. We're in May right now, May 11th.
Yeah, it's
So
interesting. I noticed a cyclical thing where they come through in May and June. Yes, I'm doing the Unicorn Healer course, which is an attunement to unicorn communication, energy healing, life purpose. And I've been working with the unicorns for, I would say, about 10 years. And I love unicorn energy healing and unicorn guides and to play with the unicorns. So that's exciting.
So people can get in touch with that below, her information. I imagine you'll share a link so people can sign up and learn more. And yeah, I'm thick in the work with trees. I'm doing my sacred mystery journey with trees. And so that's already going on, but I am opening up to new mentor clients and doing some events, different things like that. And I have a Patreon. So if you'd like to check out more, there'll be links below as well. but feel free to reach out to us. I know all of you watching to this point, I'm sure, are very connected to being an earth empath yourself, being a light worker, being an earth worker. And so really want to thank you for your service and for really moving forward, caring and being service to Gaia and this whole ascension. So we really honor you. You're really important for this time, and we want to support you and be in circle. So thank you so much. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.